Subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Sallallahu ta'ala ala habibihi Muhammadan wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim. So the first thing, I know some of you were probably expecting Moteen to be here. Put your hands up if you know who Moteen Ali is. About half the group. I wish I could have taken a picture. Did you take a picture of that? Half the group, or at least maybe 3/4 of the group know Moteen Ali. So I've known Moteen Ali. I predate Moteen in the Green Party. So I joined back in 2019. There's no status? Well, I'm just contextualizing. That I've known Moteen all that time. But I will be sharing a little bit about him as well. But probably equally importantly, that we're probably on a journey together, and I know a couple of people in here already. So when it comes to the Muslim Institute, just randomly about a couple of months ago, Moteen texted me and he says, who's Muslim Institute? I think he got an invitation, so he messaged me. He wanted me to validate or not validate the organization. And first I was thinking, it doesn't ring any alarm bells. But let me have a quick look. So I went onto the website, checked out the team, and the first name that I saw was Ziauddin Sardar. I'm like, oh, that's my man. I remember reading his book. Do you know which book? Desperately, yeah. Desperately Seeking Paradise, and I remember what a book that was. He's still desperate. So I thought, okay, this is good. I can feed back to Moteen. But then I continued looking on the team page, and then I saw Shanaz. And that just sort of nailed it for me. Shanaz is under trustee. We've worked together. I text Moteen and I said, it's fine. You can just go ahead if whatever your engagement with them is. But then out of the blue, a few weeks ago, I get an email saying that Moteen can't make it, because of some family issues, and then he recommended me, so here I am. So I'm on his recommendation, if anything, so I hope that's worth it. This is about Malcolm X, and I want to briefly share a story about how I was introduced to Malcolm X. And it was many years ago when I was in year 10, doing my GCSEs in RE, and I'm not sure if this teacher was a cover teacher or a supply teacher, but a new teacher came in to my RE lessons, and he was an English person with a very short beard. But later on I found out that he was actually Muslim. We're going back to the 1990s. So it was the first time I actually saw a convert or a revert Muslim, and he introduced me to Malcolm X. And he said, you must read the autobiography of Malcolm X. And then after that, it is absolutely history. I read the book twice, and I've been encouraging all of the people that are around me to read the autobiography of Malcolm X. And the reason I mentioned that is because I had, me and Shanaz go back to our men days. We're colleagues and we work together. Shanaz was a huge inspiration, still is a huge inspiration, to tell us how academia works and how sharp you need to be. And we learnt that from Shanaz. And I don't think we could probably touch her levels of academia and communication skills, but she was certainly an inspiration. The reason I mention Malcolm X in the autobiography is in my almost 6 years in MEND, there were huge problems working with the Muslims. Trying to get them politically engaged and trying to get them politically active. Huge problems. And when you're looking at activists, you always found some amazing nuggets who came on board, really had the vision. There was alignment in the vision. They were active. They were giving their own time. And after a few years, I'm thinking, why is it that maybe 5% to 10% of the Muslims that we engage with, we get a response? Like 90% you won't. And there's a science in here, when we're talking about unity, to not think you're going to get the masses on board. It's never going to happen. The number that you've got to be working with is around 10%. If you're engaging, you're working with 10%, the sort of people that you need to get on board. From that 10%, you're going to get probably 5% who are really active. So if you're talking about Muslim unity, I don't want to think about 80%, 90%. You want to be looking at the 5% mark, because it always ever took a few people to change things. And it was never 70, 80, 90%, the 5% that you're talking about. And then we can also fathom that, can't we? We can think of 5% of the people that we can engage. So what was a common denominator that I found with my key activists is that all of them had read which book? The autobiography of Malcolm X. All of them. So the first thing, if you want people and Muslims to be active, hand out the autobiography of Malcolm X. Because it certainly encouraged me. Ziauddin Sardar's book also encouraged me. So there are authors and writers out there. So that is my little take on the importance of Malcolm X and his autobiography. So my engagement in the Green Party, as I was trying to provide context, started in 2019. And I joined the Green Party while I was still in Mend. And Shanaz will know, and other activists, that we were engaging with the status quo, the two main political parties at that time. But my experience told me that the status quo is a lost cause. In 2019, Labour are not fulfilling the needs of the Muslim communities. And then on top of that, when they stabbed Jeremy Corbyn in the back, my engagement with Upney councillors in our own local authorities, combined with the Islamophobia within the parties, it told me at that time in 2019 that you cannot really operate within the status quo. So what are the next options? So I'm thinking to myself, there's two options. One is that you set your own political party up. Is that going to be feasible? But we know what's happening with your party right now, okay? Then I thought, the next best thing, what is the next best thing? And then the Green Party. I'm like, okay, I'm Muslim Green, the Greens attribute to Muslims as well. Let's have a look at the policies. Yeah, 70, 80%, they're absolutely fine. Okay, we're going to join the Green Party. But this decision came because one of the people that I was working with, who wasn't elected as a councillor yet, he poached me, said, you need to come into the Green Party. And prior to that, I was never a member of a political party. I worked with politics and politicians, but I was never a member. So it took me a few weeks because to take that leap, to become a member of a political party, because you know then you're going to be engaged within the inner workings of the party. So I took the leap and I joined the Green Party. And I went to my first ever meeting, which was in the Chambers, Leeds City Council, lovely building. If you're ever in Leeds, we can try to arrange that for you. I went into a room of several white middle-class men, pretty much. That's what the Green Party looked like in 2019. To cut the story short, I began to engage. I went in there with my strategy mind. Some of the people liked it. Ed promoted me, Ed Carlisle, who is now a councillor for the Green Party. I then got elected as the coordinator at that time. And it was during that time when I got elected that Mortin came into one of our meetings online. And me and Mortin actually also go back to our men days, because we gave a deputation together to Leeds City Council on Prevent, which is a public policy that is deemed to be Islamophobic. So we gave a deputation. I spoke at that deputation. Mortin was there as a supporting role at the time, maybe back in 2016 or 2017. And then the next time I see him is on a Zoom call in a meeting that he's recently joined the party. So we encouraged him because we were looking, it was close to elections time, and we were trying to get the full slate together for having enough people that are standing in the 33 wards. So we offered him, Mortin, do you want to stand? I think you should stand. Clearly the party is not very diverse, and it's still not that diverse, but we are moving in the right direction. So he stood, he put himself forward, and then he started to graft. And this is important. So I'm going to be sharing my personal experiences, but I want you to take some lessons. And the key thing is, think about yourself as the individual. I don't want you to be thinking that you want to reform the entire country or the entire Muslims. I want you to focus on yourself and what you can do, because it comes down to the individual and the ripples that you create by doing what you're doing. So, and I'm going to use Mortin as an example. So Mortin began to campaign. I believe that the Green Party can win in every single ward at a local authority level, and I also believe that if we campaign, that we can win hundreds of MPs. But that effort needs to be there, that struggle needs to be there, that sacrifice needs to be there, and that's proving the point right now where we are. If you're looking at the Green Party results in 2025. So he grafted for the first year in Gipton and Hare Hills. Have you heard of Gipton and Hare Hills? Put your hand up if you heard of Gipton and Hare Hills. All right, okay, it was unheard of. One of the most deprived, if you're looking at the date and the figures, one of the most deprived wards in the country. He stood in Gipton and Hare Hills, and I think normally without much campaigning, Gipton and Hare Hills, whoever stood used to get 400 to 500 votes. He campaigned, and in his first year, he doubled that and he went to 1,000. So we know that when you put the effort in, you're going to get some results. Second year, we think, okay, you could potentially win. So he tried harder. He worked even harder. And I think he got to around 1,1600. The third year, he was thinking about giving up because it's a huge effort. It's not easy to be campaigning with minimal resources, knocking on doors, leafleting. You need financial resources and you need people resources. So campaigning at a local level is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. His wife was also sick of him. And I've got to say, like, my wife is also sick of me. She's sick of green things. So me and Morty are in the same boat there. They really can't stand us anymore. And it's because it's how, when you're in it, it literally overwhelms you. It overwhelms, especially if you get into a position where you are influencing and you are part of the decision-making system, right? Because you're looking after, and I will briefly share my current role within the Leeds Green Party and how that's shaping up. So it's a huge effort. He wasn't going to stand. His wife was like saying, just sod it off. You know, I can't tolerate this anymore. But then he gave it one last push, and alhamdulillah. Gaza was also in the news, and everything came together, and the biggest story was actually the person that he unseated, because that person and the Labour Party within that part of the city, they have this thing that they own the city, and it's terrible the way that some of this politics works. They literally think they own the land, they own the people, and that was broken. Because that chap said that I don't even need to campaign and I'll still retain my seat. And that was the biggest story. However, the biggest story then was, who saw the $1 million shot of Allahu Akbar? Okay, so if you're not familiar with that, that became the story of his victory. And he started to get death threats, lots of issues. But me with my media hat on, I was like, Moti, don't worry about it. Any publicity is good publicity right now. Okay, so what if Tommy Robinson's tweeting you? That's a really good thing. Tommy Robinson's tweet gave him over 2-3 million views. 2-3 million people know who you are right now. But it hasn't been an easy ride for him as well. Because getting death threats, and every time he puts a comment now on social media, all you've got to do is have a look at the comment section. It's absolutely atrocious. I also said to him, Mortin, if you were planning on saying Allahu Akbar in that manner, that we could have done a deal with Daily Mail, right? $1 million deal. And if you were going to give them that picture, because that's what that picture was worth. It was a brown person, bearded with a turban on, looking really angry. He was on the front pages of the right-wing press over multiple days. I think on the Daily Mail, 2-3 days in a row, he was on the front page. I'm like, Martin, don't worry about it. I know it's a ragtag, right? But the point is, you're on the front page. And it was giving him lots of publicity, lots of publicity. Then what happened is, alhamdulillah, when you think about these things, even that was not in his control, it wasn't in my control, his victory wasn't in his control. All we were doing was putting effort in, we were knocking on the doors, we were in the right places. He got elected, he got lambasted, there was death threats to him, it was awful. But 3 months later, the riots took place, and we were there, including myself, trying to stop the rioters not fighting with the police forces there. So we were bang in the middle. And then, of course, we know that some footage was taken of Morteen trying to put out the fires and so forth. And then within a space of 3 months, the whole image of Morteen changed. And you're thinking this almost on a divine level. We have nothing to do with it. We were just there doing what we were doing. And the whole script changed. The media coverage within a space of 3 to 4 months absolutely switched. And it began to portray him as the hero of Hare Hills. And the only way that we can explain that is divine intervention. We had nothing to do with it. We were just out there doing what we thought was the right thing to do. And then this thing came up, should I run for deputy? I mean, things were happening pretty quick. I'm like, you've got a good chance. You've got the public profile. Lots of people within the Green people are loving your coverage. It wasn't good. They were hating his coverage at that time. For the first 3 months, everyone in the party was panic. What are you doing? All of our hard work has gone. It's, look at all those years of effort, middle-class effort we've been putting in, and all of that gone by this brown bearded Muslim, right? And because that switched, it became easy to think about, okay, you could be the deputy leadership. So when it was, I was like, yeah, I think you should go for it because you got the profile. And then that campaigning began. And he had to mobilize a team that was majority non-Muslim to help him and campaign for him. And then, of course, we were there to help him as well. At that time, too many things happened, so I'm trying to skip some things. Anyway, what we do know now that he got elected, and he is the deputy leader. He was meant to be here, but he's not, and I am. And I hope that I've done his story up to being deputy leader a little bit of justice. But there's lots of hard work. There's lots of challenges in politics. There's lots of challenges in Leeds. There's lots of challenges nationally too, as well. Okay, so I was sort of coordinating the party when Morteen came in, and then because it's too much, I took the year off of his third year, but I was supporting him behind the scenes. And then because there were lots of challenges after his election of victory, I got roped back in. And then I got elected again as the coordinator, which I am still the coordinator right now. And I just want to perhaps explain why it's important for Muslims, and not necessarily Muslims, but for those people who have a slightly more universal mindset, who are thinking about everyone. One of the reasons why I left MEND at the time, one of the issues being that Muslims are such a hard group to work with. They just don't realize what's important and what's not important, is that I actually wanted to serve a wider demographic. As a Muslim, I think we should be serving everyone. It's not just for the Muslims. And I see my role within the Leeds Green Party or within the Green Party as serving the wider demographic, including Muslims. And I think that's the sort of mindset that we need to develop, is that we are there to serve everyone. So something that inspires me about the cosmos and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation, that He's created Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a rahmatul lil alameen. And as a Muslim, as a follower of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I believe in myself that we should be a rahmat to wherever we are. So if I'm in Leeds, I should be a rahmatul lil Leeds. Or if you're in Manchester, you should be a rahmatul lil Manchester. That we should be trying to follow in the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wherever we are. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was universal. So that is my inspiration. And I'm going to talk about a couple of ayahs at the end of this talk that also inspire me. So right now, as I'm coordinating the Leeds Green Party, we've got an ambition to elect another 10 councillors right now. I think we've only, probably from the 10 councillors, we've only got one Muslim standing right now. But the ethnic and the gender representation needs to still improve, despite what people think about the Green Party. There's still a huge journey for the Green Party, before it becomes truly representative. And I think the inclusion of people like Morteen, myself, and a few of the other Muslims, we're dealing with the diversity issues within the Greens. I do want to take you back to the point that I made earlier. When I went into the Green Party meeting, literally, it was middle-class white men. And if I go into the meeting right now, there's lots of young people and a lot more coloured people, within the party. So right now, because I learned how to strategize in my men days, I am deploying those skills within the Green Party right now. I feel that men developed one of the best community engagement models. And it's a shame that it's not gone global. It looks like men has probably regressed in terms of its activity because they're not doing that much community activism anymore. But while we were in the organization, I feel that it had a world-class engagement strategy. It worked in a quadrant, and I like to work in quadrants after that as well, where you're developing the core infrastructure, where you're doing community engagement, where you're doing a bit of lobbying and you're engaging with the authorities, and then you're running the campaigns. And I've tried to employ some of that within the Green Party mechanisms within the party. So right now, when I came in, there wasn't a website. It was absolutely awful. The first thing I did is, living in a digital world, we've got to get the website up to scratch. We've got to get on our social medias, and I've continued to do that. So the way that we are working within the Green Party right now is that we've got to develop the media infrastructure, we've got to develop the elections infrastructure, we have to develop the campaigning infrastructure, where we can create a culture. This is really important. The culture really dictates our behaviors in a organization and our input. So if you develop the right culture, which is really attractive, you would get more out of your activists. It's really important that we also consider the cultures that we are creating in the masajid, or in our community centers, in our organizations. What is the culture? Is it a culture that is inspirational? Or is it a culture of conflict? Is it a culture of cooperation? Or is it a culture of schisms? So within the Green Party, we can see this right now because we can see some opportunists, we can see some people who are not that authentic. The thing that we have in the Green Party is that you would find the most authentic people joining that party. And that's really important to note. The most authentic people who genuinely care about the local communities, we found that within the Green Party. But we're seeing that because of the growth of the Green Party recently, that we are seeing potentially some less authentic people trying to get in and maneuver their way in. But if you create a culture of unity, if you create a culture of togetherness and of cooperation, and you give them the big idea. So my big idea is the idea of belonging, the cities of belonging. And I think it could deal with lots of issues where we are divided. Not just Muslims among themselves, but with the entire, or the diversity of our entire communities representing Britain right now. If you push this idea of belonging, that means that everyone belongs. It doesn't matter what religion you are, what colour you are, what your gender orientation is, what class you're from, how educated you are, how young you are, how old you are. Everyone belongs. So the idea is, the universal thinking helps me push this idea of belonging because it's as inclusive as something can be. So if anyone in here can come up with an idea that is more inclusive than belonging, we'll run with it. But right now, we're pushing this. But it's not easy because you've got to win people over to the idea of belonging. So that's what we're trying to do in the Leeds Green Party. And if...
2 minutes now.
Have I got 2 minutes left? Sorry, I'm not even halfway. Okay, you got to be in it to win it. That's the key message. And I want to go over to the next, or my final thing. I did mention Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as Rahmatul Alameen, but there are 2 ayahs in the Quran that really motivate and inspire me, that help me with my thinking. The first one is the ayah which talks about Allah's knowledge. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and I'm paraphrasing, he's talking about his knowledge is as much that if you used all the pens, or all the trees as pens, and all the oceans as ink, that would not be enough. You have to repeat it 7 times. Now, even the 7, it's not literally, the 7 also symbolizes that it'll go on and on and on. That's one. And the second ayah, does anyone know which surah it's from? Surah Kahf? No.
Second last ayah of Surah Kahf.
No, this one's from Surah Luqman. Yeah, so it's Surah Luqman 31:27, and the second one from Surah Hujurat. I'm running out of time with those. I was going to test you on your Quran knowledge. The other ones are made into male, are made into female, are made into different tribes and different nations that you get to know one another. Since a young age, that's inspired me. So my question is that if you haven't got at least 2 ayats that motivate and guide you and inspire you in your life, then something is really wrong. That's 2 ayahs. And why am I saying 2 ayahs? Because it's only taken 2 ayahs to inspire and motivate what I'm doing right now. But every time I go to the Quran, something else opens up. Something else opens up. All right, but at least I've got 2. The 2 things that are dictating my politics, that are dictating my activism right now. I just want someone actually just to contextualize even a little bit more. So if someone wants to take their phone out, I want to contextualize this ayah of the knowledge that's out there. Do we know which library has the most books in the world?
Library of Congress.
Yeah, I told you, Shanaz. Yeah? The Library of Congress. I'm going to test you again. How many? All right. Right. It is the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. Do we know how many books and manuscripts it holds? Was that you, Yahya?
Yeah.
Go higher.
Okay, 1 billion.
No, you mean, come on. Be a realist. Okay, altogether, you're looking at around 40 million books, and if you include the manuscripts, it's about 173 million. Now, can you imagine 173 million words or books, and how much we read? How much do we know? We don't know nothing. We are absolutely zilch. We are nothing in the cosmos. Yet every single one of you feels like something. And this is the glory and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are nothing, I am nothing, you are nothing, yet we feel something. Okay, so this, and the reason I'm saying that is because it gives us that power to the individual. It gives you that power, knowing that you're nothing but you are something, and you can be something.